This conference will now be recorded.
You can see my screen, right? Okay. Okay, so as we discussed in our last session that we will be covering initial load part today. Okay, most of the other things related to central finance configuration, real-time data migration, sorry, real-time data replication and all scenarios we have seen. Now we are only left with the initial load part. So we discussed what exactly is initial load. Initial load means whenever you are implementing this central finance project, before that, whatever data was available in your previous system, okay, let's assume you are starting the central finance implementation from 1st of September. Whatever data you had previously in your source system, you have to consider that data as a initial load data, which means that data has to be transferred to your target system. Now, it is up to the customer how much data they want to transfer. For example, if a customer is already using SAP from last 10 years, it is not necessary that all the 10 years of data, document by document, would be considered by customer. Maybe customer can say, okay, last 2 years of data, I want to replicate document by document, and the remaining data, I don't want to load document by document, I only want to load the balances. Okay, so whatever is a customer's decision, whatever data they want to migrate, you have to specify that particular thing in your source system itself. So what you will do is, first of all, you will go to your source system, okay, and you need to tell the system what data needs to be considered for initial load. So in our case, what I'll do is I'll go to my source. This is my source system, okay, and the transaction code that I'll be using in my source system is CFIN ING. Okay, if this transaction code is not available, we already discussed, you will go to the table SM30 transaction code, and then vcfin underscore source underscore set is the table which has this information. Okay, here company code wise, you will be telling the system what data needs to be considered during the initial load. You can see, for example, in our case, our company code is CF01, and we are telling the system that we want to perform the initial load. Balances we want to start from 2019 onwards, and documents also we want to start from 2019 first period onwards. Okay, if a customer wants this to be started from 2015 and this to be started from 2019, completely fine. It is up to the customer. Whatever balances you want to start, whatever year you want to start the balances, and whatever period you want to start the documents, these are the two things that you need to maintain here. Okay, this is common. Normally we keep it 12. This is, you know, the transfer tables, right? Whenever a document is posted in the source system, it first resides in the transfer table, and then it gets replicated or loaded to the target system. So the question is how much time this data should be stored in the transfer table. So by default, it is 12 months. You can keep it as it is. Okay, we already discussed this GL reconciliation. This is only if you are not replicating the CO postings separately, then you can click on this GL reconciliation, which will automatically make sure that if there are any CO adjustments, those are also loaded properly. And the last one is initial load is completed or not completed. So when you are performing the initial load, this should be unticked. Once your initial load exercise has been completed, then only you will come and you will activate this. Once you activate this, obviously you are telling the system that my initial load has been completed. Okay, which means now this company code would be used for day-to-day replication purpose. If you don't want the system to start the day-to-day replication, you can come here and you can untick this. Okay, only if this tick is, only this indicator is ticked, then only your real-time replication will work. If this is unticked, this means you are still in the phase of initial load. Okay, so this is the only setting that you need to do in your source system. All the remaining settings related to the initial load needs to be performed in the target system. Okay, so I'll take you to the target system. In the target system, there is a completely separate folder which is available to perform all the settings related to initial load. Okay, so you'll go to SPRO, or maybe you can, in the target system also, you can go with CFIN IMG. Okay, it will show you central finance source system and target system. In our case, this particular system, DV1, we are using it as a target system. So we don't need to do anything in the source. We only need to perform our relevant activities in the target system settings. And in our last session, we already understood all these details: setup system, mapping, clear transfer, configuration consistency check. And this is what we need to discuss today. That is initial load. So I'll open the folder and you can see these are the different activities that needs to be performed in the initial load. Okay, we will start with this one, initial load settings. You can see again, similar to the other activities, in initial load also you need to tell the system what are your logical systems, what is your source system. Okay, so those logical systems you need to create here. Okay, only the source system. You can see in our case, our source system is EPX client 800. Okay, this package size should be 50. This is for the technical reason. Normally we don't change this. Okay, now coming to very important settings that you need to perform. So do you remember in case of new implementation project, whenever you go for the greenfield implementation project, and if you want to transfer the data, if you want to migrate the data from the legacy system, what do? You use a clearing account, right? What is the purpose of those clearing accounts, migration clearing accounts? Why those migration clearing accounts are required? Any idea what are migration clearing accounts?
Balance sheet account?
Okay, balance sheet, but what is the purpose? Why do we need those accounts?
So we can tie back for the initial loads, because those will be the one time. So it can be a transparency and those kind of a thing.
Exactly. So whenever you go for the new implementation project, even there also we perform the legacy data transfer, right? We perform the whatever are the balances available in your legacy system, we migrate those balances in the SAP system, even the lines, AP items, AR items. We use a AP migration account, AR migration account, GL migration account, and ultimately, once all the migrations are completed, the balance, the consolidated balance in those migration GL accounts must be 0. Same thing has to be followed in case of central finance initial load also. So whenever system will try to perform any load of the previously posted documents, okay, let's assume you have the balances. We already discussed that the initial load will migrate the balances, as well as initial load will migrate the documents also. So let's take an example of the balances. In case of balances, let's assume there is a GL account. Okay, there is a bank GL account, for example. In the bank GL account, the balance is 10,000 USD. Okay, let me put it in the Excel. So let's assume this is my balance sheet account 2000, which is bank account in case of my source system. And the balance in this GL account is 10,000 USD. Right? Now, when the system will try to move this balance from source to target, what it will do, it has to pass the accounting impact. Right? First of all, if this 2000 is assigned to 2000 and additional 2 zeros in the target system. So this GL account in source, this is EPX client 800, and this is our target system, which is DV1. right? So in this client, if I have a balance of this much in this source account, when the system will perform the initial load, this in the target system, it will go to this GL account. It will pass on 10,000 USD. But what will be the corresponding accounting entry? Because if you want to bring some balances from the source to the target, definitely it will be through the accounting impact. So that corresponding accounting impact will go to the clearing account.
Conversion
Okay, so
clearing account.
exactly. Initial load clearing account. You have to create an initial load clearing account, and that initial load clearing account will get the credit posting of this much amount. Okay, so 10,000 USD would be credited to this particular account. So first of all, before we start the initial load, we have to create a initial load clearing account. Okay, so that has to be created in the target system because this activity we are going to do in the target system. So for that, what you will do is you will go to FS00, as Farooq said that it should be the balance sheet account. So within the balance sheet account, you can see I have created the initial load clearing account. Very straightforward. It is not a RICO account. It is not a you don't need to do the open item management, and you don't need to perform any additional settings. It is just a normal GL account that I created under the general category. Okay, and this GL account that you have created, this GL account will be used in this configuration. So if you go to this configuration, define the clearing and substitution account. This is where you will be assigning against the company code, okay, against the target company code. So currently we are in the target system, and in target system we have to provide the migration clearing account here. Okay, this is where you need to assign the migration clearing account.
It will be all the accounts that we have there for the upload purposes. If we have a separate APAR and those kind of a thing.
No, not required. I'll come to you on that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is mainly for the balances. Whatever you are providing here, this is for the balances. Now coming to AP and AR and the reconciliation accounts. So for reconciliation accounts, also we need another account which is called as a substitution account. Okay, so I will select this and I will double click on the substitution accounts. So here I need to specify the substitution account for each and every reconciliation account in my source system. Okay, so for example, if I go to my source system, this is my source, and if I go to my table, maybe SKB1, sorry. Okay, and if I specify my source company code, which is CF01, and I want to tell the system to show me all those reconciliation accounts, all those accounts which are reconciliation accounts. So equal to has to be some value. If it is blank or maybe not equal to blank. So I will say where the reconciliation ID is not equal to blank. So let's try to execute. So this should give me the list of all the reconciliation accounts. No, I think my query is wrong. So maybe no problem. Let's execute here and you can see the reconciliation. This is ID. I want the reconciliation indicator. Where is that reconciliation field? So all are non-RICO accounts, is it? Maybe other way around. So let me remove this. SKB1 company code CF01. Execute. Yeah, so you can see these are the reconciliation indicators. So what I want is, I want only reconciliation indicators. So this 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are my reconciliation accounts. So for each and every reconciliation account, may not be for asset, because anyways assets I am not moving as it is. Asset anyways I am moving as a GL document. So for AP and AR, to be very specific, for AP and AR for each reconciliation account. So I have 3 reconciliation accounts, 1000, 2001, and 2006. So these 3 reconciliation accounts need to be created here. Okay, so you will say 1000, you will say 2001, and I think it was 2006, whatever it was. So let me verify. Yes. So these 3 reconciliation accounts I have to specify here, and I have to provide, okay, you can provide the range also. Okay, so if there are multiple GL accounts and they are in range, you can provide in range. Otherwise, you can provide a single GL account, that is also fine. But this is where you need to substitute them. So whenever they will be coming to the target system, they will initially will come as a separate substitution account, and there will be another posting which will be passed from the substitution account to the main account. Let me tell you how exactly this will work. So let's assume there is a substitution account. There is a reconciliation account in EPX client 800. Okay, this is my source system. Now in my source system, there are multiple lines. So let's say this is my vendor line items. Okay, line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. These are the 4 lines which I want to load as an initial load. Okay, and these 4 lines, let's say they are assigned to reconciliation account as 1000. So all these 4 lines are assigned to reconciliation account 1000. Now what will happen whenever the, maybe I'll also enter the amount. So let's say this is the amount 1000, 2000, again say. Okay, so this is the amount which is open in AP, and now I want to do the initial load of these 4 line items. So what this system will do in development client, it will first bring the first vendor line item. Okay, it will not directly post to the reconciliation account. It will come as a substitution account first. Okay, and it will enter the amount. As a second entry, okay, this is kind of a clearing entry. So first one would be, what would be the accounting entry? Number 1, it would be your substitution account, and number 2, again for the same document, system will actually post the reconciliation account which is assigned to the target system, which means 100 and additional 2 zeros. Again, depending upon what GL account you specified, it will make the corresponding entry here, and obviously this substitution account will get credited. So when the accounting entry will be complete, this substitution account would be debited and then credited. Ultimately, the balance will become 0. But there is a substitution account which is still required, because it will not directly, for the initial load related items, it will not directly post to the reconciliation account. First, it will go to the substitution account, and then from substitution account, it will go to the reconciliation account.
Vikram, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So why we are uploading the balance for the reconciliation account? It should be the part of the open AP or AR, right?
No. We are not uploading the balance, Farooq. We are, what I'm talking about currently, this is not balance. We are talking about the actual AP and AR item. This, you can see, these
Invoices,
are the
invoices.
Yeah, right. These are the invoices.
But those invoices should still go to the open AP or AR, right?
Exactly, same thing we are doing. So open AP and AR, but ultimately, even if it is AP and AR open items, they will definitely go to the recon posting also, right?
No, it is just post the vendor, and then on the target system should have a recon, should post it automatically to the recon account.
No, exactly. I'm taking
As a
the same
normal
thing.
process, as a normal process.
No. I got your point, Farooq. But only thing is, you are right. You are saying I'll be posting to AP, I'll be posting to the vendor, and system will automatically post to the recon account.
That's right.
Right? Only difference is if it is a recon account, instead of posting to the recon account immediately, system will use substitution account in between. That is a
In the central
clear
in the central finance.
in the central finance. Yes, not in any other project. Only in central finance.
Why
This
is
concept
that?
is only for central finance.
Why is that? Do you know any answer about that? Why is needed?
Yeah,
Additional.
let me show you. So if I go to this particular explanation, you'll be able to understand. Although it is very much technical, but let's try to.
Yeah.
So let's go to implementation. So maybe I'll explain you both clearing as well as substitution. Some background noise. Farooq, can you just mute yourself? Farooq, some background noise. Okay, perfect. So you can see in this customizing activity, you define the migration clearing account and the substitution accounts to be used for postings during the initial load. This is only for the initial load. Okay, so you must define one migration clearing account for each company code. I think there is no confusion here. Migration clearing account is very straightforward. Okay, while balances are being posted, this account is used as the offsetting posting. And once the initial load is completed, the balance should automatically be 0. Right? There is no question on this. Let's start understand the substitution account now. So for each reconciliation account, only for reconciliation account, and each open item managed account. So not only reconciliation, even if you have any GL accounts which are open item managed, okay, you must define one substitution account. This is only from the central finance perspective. So what will happen, as I told you, the document will be posted in 2 steps. In the first step of the initial load, all the balances related to the reconciliation accounts are transferred to their assigned substitution account. In the second step, open items are posted to the reconciliation account while the offsetting entries are posted to the substitution account, which means ultimately your balance in the substitution account will be 0.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense actually. Actually, it is just keeping it for the safe side to the clearing account and then offsetting that account with the 0 and then post to the real account, I think.
Exactly. Yes.
Normally that's all happen when we are building those external interfaces and other things to keep that thing in this.
Right. So it is just maybe you can say the reason of it is to identify what was the initial load and what is the real-time replication.
Exactly right.
But only thing is just remember these are only for balances. These are not for line items. So line items will be loaded as it is in the replication. It will not show you any difference in case of the line items, but it will only show you the differences in terms of the balances. For example, if I go to my source system once again, and if I show you here CFIN IMG. Okay, so what we have done is we have told the system that we want to migrate the balances. In this case, both are same, but let's assume if this is 2015 and this is 2019 first period. So 2015 onwards up to 2018, system is only going to migrate the balances, not the line items. So only for those particular balances, system needs the substitution account. If you are migrating the line items, there is no need of substitution account. Only if you are migrating AP, AR, or any other GL account which is open itemly managed, for those reconciliation accounts, you need to specify the substitution account. Okay, now this substitution account can be one, or it can be separate for AP, separate for AR, separate for open item managed. But ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever GL accounts you created as substitution accounts, the balance must be 0. There should not be any balance as a consolidated balance in this substitution accounts.
So basically, Vikram, after the conversion is completed, initial load, the balance should be 0 for this account.
Exactly. Yes. These are the clearing. These are the migration accounts. And migration accounts, whatever is the project, it is a new implementation or a central finance, ultimately migration accounts are only used for the technical purpose. So once the purpose is over, they should be balanced to zero, right? Okay, so these are the two settings which are important. This is one node which is allowing you two different GL accounts to be assigned. Once this is completed, it is just documentation which is telling you make sure that your source system configuration is complete. So we already have seen the source system configuration, which is you have to specify starting from which year you will transfer the balance, starting from which year you want to load the document by document. So if you click on this documentation, it will tell you the same thing. You can see vcfin source underscore set or cfin img. Go here and specify the balances. You can see it will tell you the balances, it will tell you the open items. You can see company code, start balances, start the document postings, how many periods you want to keep the documents in the transfer tables, and whether the initial load has been completed or not. If you remember previously, I told you sometimes you may say that I don't want to load anything. Okay, let's assume we are doing the test in the sandbox system, what even we have done. So instead of having the initial load, let's assume we don't want to load anything as an initial load, we just want to start the normal day-to-day replication, right? In that case, that is called as an empty initial load, which means you are not loading any balances and you are not even loading any documents. So if you want to perform this empty initial load, I think I already told you last time also that there is only one thing that you need to do is provide the future dates here. Okay, so you can say, okay, maybe this one is empty. You can see this is exactly how it needs to be followed. So start the balances, leave empty, and start the documents, choose the year in the future for which nothing has been posted so far. Right, so what you can do is you can come here, you can keep it blank. I don't want to transfer any balances. I want to transfer the documents from 2021, which there is no document at all. And that is the reason you are specifying this year, because you know that nothing has been posted till now, which means no document would be treated during the initial load. So this is called as empty initial load, where no document would be actually loaded into the target system. Okay, but this is only technical. Normally, when you're working on the project, maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever is the documents which are posted in your current system, customer will definitely ask you to perform the load for those objects, for those documents. Okay, even if it is 4 months of data, still that has to be treated as an initial load. Okay, so this is a configuration that you need to do in your source system itself. Again, I'll go back to my IMG. Reduce package size. This is technical. So we discussed that normally the package size which is provided by SAP says use 50 as the logical size. But if you are facing some issues, for example, if you feel that the initial load is happening slowly, so maybe you can come and you can reduce the package size from here. But this activity, if required, has to be done by technical team, because we don't have to do anything with the package size and how the data is moving technically in the background. Okay, so these are the initial load settings. And now if you see, there are two separate folders. Initial load for management accounting and initial load for financial accounting. Now the question is why these are segregated. We already understood that there are mainly three types of replications. One is a CO document, second is CO object, and third is FI document. But all these three, they were not segregated till now. But if you can see in the initial load, these two things are segregated. When we say management accounting, this includes your CO object and it also includes your CO document. When I say financial accounting, it only consists of the FICO document. So just remember one thing, this is very important for you to understand. So the main objects, What are the main objects? Number one is COBK, which is CO secondary posting. Okay, what is the second object? Second object is AUFK, which is nothing but cost object mapping or cost object replication. Okay, and last one is ACC HD or CFIN underscore ACC HD, which is FICO document. So these are the three important documents which we want to perform two things. One is initial load, and second is real-time replication. Right, this is exactly what we are doing from day one. We are understanding what are the different types of transfers which will happen. So initial load is one-time transfer and real-time replication is day-to-day transfer. So this real-time replication, which tool will perform the real-time replication? Which tool is used to perform the extract the data from the source and put it to the target?
SLT.
SLT, right? So SLT tool is responsible for real-time replication of cost object. SLT itself is responsible for real-time transfer of real-time replication of secondary postings, and SLT is also responsible for regular replication of FICO documents to the target system. When it comes to initial load, for secondary posting, SLT is responsible. For cost object also, SLT is responsible. But when it comes to FI, initial load of FI document is not done by SLT. It is done from the config itself. Okay, there is an activity which is provided in the config itself. If I show you here, so you can see if I go to financial accounting, there is a program provided, execute the initial load for initial load group. So this one is not using SLT. If you see the management accounting, these are all using SLTs. I'll show you step by step, then you will get an idea. But just remember this as of now. This is not done by SLT tool. This is a separate config. So you can say initial load of FI data uses a separate config. It doesn't use the SLT tool to perform the initial load. Only initial load. Real-time replication, definitely SLT. Just for initial load, FICO documents will not use SLT. They will use a separate config. Or you can say separate activity, separate program. Instead of config, let's call it as a separate program. Okay, and that is the reason in initial load, the folder is divided into two parts. One is for management, which are SLT related, and second for accounting, which is a separate program. Right? So you can see here there are two different folders. One for management accounting, which will use SLT, and second for financial accounting, which will use its separate programs. Okay, let's go to the management accounting first. Now, tell me one thing, when the initial load will work, when you will be performing the initial load, out of these three objects, what would be the sequence? Which object should go first, which object should go second, and which object should go third?
AUFK first.
You are saying AUFK will go first.
Then maybe accounting can go second. Accounting, CFIN account, FICO document.
This one should be second.
Yeah. And then secondary cost.
Exactly. So this is a flow. The flow is first you need to transfer the cost object. Why? Let's assume you are transferring the FI document, you are posting the FI document, and in FI document there is an internal order. But is this internal order already created? May not be. Why it is not created? Because the initial load of cost object itself is not complete. So first thing is you need to create all those cost objects. Second is you will transfer the FI postings, And third one is the secondary postings, because the secondary postings are mainly based on the accounting posting. So each activity has a dependency. So I cannot go with accounting documents till the time I don't have AUFK. Same way, I cannot go with COBK. Sorry, yeah, I cannot go with the secondary postings till the time my FI postings are not completed. So this is a flow, how this activity would be performed, how this initial load would be performed. Okay, so first activity is AUFK, second activity is the financial document, and third activity is a secondary postings. So that is exactly what you need to perform here. So if I go to initial load preparation, see, another important thing you can see, this is execution. This is execution. Execution means this is actually being performed. While if you see the management accounting, this is just a preparation. Can you tell me the reason why this is only preparation and why this is execution? I just now gave you the hint.
Yeah. So the other one will be running from somewhere else, not from this system.
Exactly.
From
One would be executed using SLT tool, which is outside our target system. Okay, in our case also, we are using SLT in our SLT is installed together with our ECC system, right? So that initial load of management accounting will be triggered from SLT tool, which is outside this system. And that is the reason I cannot execute anything here. What I can maximum do is I can prepare this system so that it can take the CO postings and the cost object mappings. But when it comes to FI, because it uses a separate program and these programs are directly available in the target system, that is the reason it is initial load execution of the financial accounting. Okay, so in this activity, I'm just doing the preparation, nothing else. The actual execution would be done by your technical consultant. They will be using SLT once your initial preparation is completed. Okay, so you can see prepare for and monitor the initial load of CO posting. This is a program which you need to execute. Okay, very straightforward. You can see currently it is already showing it is finished. This activity has been finished. But if you want to repeat it, you can say undo preparation of CO initial load. Due to some reason, if you want to restart it, you can come here, undo preparation of this load. You can just specify your logical system and execute it. Valid company code. Okay. No, there is some error. Let me try from here itself. So prepare for initial load. What I'll do is I will try to execute it once again. It is saying already completed. Okay. Normally, that is the issue here. Normally, if this is working fine from the technical point of view, I can go here and I can undo. When I undo, if you come here and you will be able to see that you can execute it once again. So let me do one thing. Let's try to change something here. Let's see. What if I remove the data object from the source system itself? I'm just trying one thing. Normally you will not get this kind of issues because the server that you will be using will be having all the SAP nodes which are only provided to the customers. For the taste system, SAP doesn't provide this SAP node, and that is the reason in the taste system you will be struggling a little bit. So if I go to LTRC, what I'm trying to do is, as of now, I'm removing this object, COBK. Okay, so it will again regenerate all the objects. Okay, again, a technical activity. We should not come here and we should not do anything. So data provisioning, and I want to stop load as well as replication for COBK so that it gets refreshed. Okay, so if you just do refresh 1 or 2 times, this entry should go away from here. It's still there. Let me try once again. So stop COBK. Yeah, you can see now COBK entry itself is gone, which means in our SLT tool, we have told the system not to replicate the cost object, sorry, not to replicate the cost documents, CO documents, right? So I'm just trying to see if this activity has refreshed this program or not. It's still showing same. No, something wrong. Let me do one thing. If I go to my set up the systems and these are all technical, huh? No need to worry about this. This will
So
be
Vikram,
taken
what
care
I
of.
noticed that your system is not talking with the source system. Because remember, when we do the drill down document, is also not showing the drill down document in the source system as well.
Right. So although replication wise it is working, but when it comes to reading the documents, it is not working. As long as the transfer table is updated, it is working. So there are, see, it is not like it is not 100% not talking. If it is not talking, even the replication should not work, right?
But the source of the target is working. I'm saying target to the source is not communicating, I think.
Possible, yes. That might be the issue with the node which he is talking about, the vendor.
Right.
So source target is not speaking properly to the source. That might be the issue. So what we are trying to do is, yeah, let me just remove this. It is going for workbench liquid. Okay, unnecessarily I don't want to touch this, otherwise you also will not be able to practice if something goes wrong from the technical side. But let me just show you what exactly you need to do. See, currently, because I have already completed the activity for this logical system, it is showing you finished. Normally, it will either show you not started, maybe if there are statuses, yes. So you can see these are the different statuses. Normally, when you are doing it for the first time, it will show you not started. Okay. If you have already started and it is working in the background, it will show you in process. If any error occurred, it will show you in process and there are some errors occurred. You can click and you can find out what is the error, what is the problem and all those things. If it is finished, first it will show you F, finished and the delta run required. So it needs to be executed 2 times, finished and the delta run is also required. Once this F status is there, you need to again execute, then only it will go to finish status. Once it is finished, this means now system is ready with the data that needs to be loaded to the target system. Okay, but this is what exactly it is going to do in the background. If you see this document, these are the 3 activities which it performs in the background. These are all technical activities. So just to make it ready so that the CO document can be posted. So you can see if there are any COPA. We have still not discussed about the COPA, what is the future of COPA in terms of central finance. But this is making ready the COPA line items. This is making ready the CO additional line items. So these are all technical things which system will do in the background. Okay, so when you execute this program, the status till the time this is not finished, you cannot go and you cannot perform the initial load. So this status needs to be finished, then only you can go to the next activity and you can perform the initial load. Okay, same goes for preparation for initial load of commitments. I will introduce what are the commitments. What do you understand by commitments in SAP? Wherever we use commitment management, what exactly are commitments?
So those are related to purchase orders or
Exactly. So we are creating the internal orders, right? If internal orders, if we have activated the budgeting in our target system for internal orders, okay, and we want to capture the commitments from the source system, although we are not replicating PR, POs in our target system, right? in our target system, we are only capturing the financial documents. So whenever an actual financial posting will be made, system will be able to consume the budget for the internal orders. What about the budget which is related to the commitment items? For example, the PR is created, PO is created, and you want to show these commitments under the internal order. So that is a functionality which is recently introduced by SAP in the central finance, which means you can also pass on the PR, PO related commitment information to the internal orders. So if you want to activate that, if you want to bring that, then you have to perform this additional activity, which is to make the system ready for also doing the initial load for the commitments.
What
Okay.
interface we're going to be used for this to transmission this data?
This is all SLT. Whatever we are doing in management accounting, this is all SLT.
But what interface? Would that be a FICO interface or second?
No, secondary. It is only for internal order commitment. That is the reason we are under management account.
Got it.
It is CO interface. Okay, so it is also same. You will go to preparation. You can see it is also finished for this particular activity. Same thing. You will execute here. If it is in process or if it is not started, you will just execute and you will just monitor whether it is completed or not. So what exactly it does in the background? It collects the data that needs to be transferred as an initial load. So when you say why exactly we are using this program, the ultimate intention of this program is to collect the relevant data so that when the technical person from LTRC executes this, it is actually getting loaded into the system. Okay, but before that, let me just complete that activity because I removed it. So there should not be an issue. So anytime if you want to add COBK, what you can do is data provisioning, COBK, and you can tell the system to start the replication. Okay, so system will, if you remember last time I told you, when you say start replication, system will first perform the initial load if it is required, and then it will start the real-time replication. So if you execute, you can see the table is now available here. Let's try to do the refresh. You can see the logging table is also created, and you can see the status is activated. Okay, but please make sure that you are not touching this activity in this system also, in the test system also, and even in your project system also. It has to be taken care completely by technical guys because this has a huge impact. So normally even the access is not provided to us. Okay. Next one is smoke test for cost object mapping and CO document replication. Now let's assume you have completed all these activities. You have done the preparation, you have done the preparation for commitments also. Now you just want to verify that because now onwards, whatever things will be done from the CO point of view, that would be taken care by the technical consultant. He will be doing this activity through LTRC, right, through the SLT tool. But if I want to make sure that whether my settings what I maintained are correct or not, whether they will result in any error, so what you can do is you can do the smoke test. Smoke test means you can try some scenarios. For example, I'll tell the system, I have completed my activity. What will happen if I try to do the cost object initial load? Okay, so let's assume this is my internal order that I created in my source system. Okay, you can see object category is internal order and this is the internal order number. And I want to check whether this cost object will be actually getting replicated or it will be replicated while doing the initial load properly or not. So this is a smoke test which I can perform for a particular object. Maximum 999 objects. You cannot use more than 999 objects. So this is testing. This is not actually going to, this is kind of a simulation you can say. But for simulation, again, SAP has provided another program. So technically this is called as a smoke test. So before you hand over the system to the technical guy that I have completed my activities from the CO point of view, if you just want to verify whether everything is working fine or not, you can execute here. Okay, it will show you that particular object. You can tick on the object and you try to replicate it. So if there are any errors, those errors will be provided here. Those errors will be highlighted here, and you need to see, okay, what is wrong? Maybe the mapping is not correct, or maybe the scenario that you used in the internal order is not correct. So you will go to the cost object mapping, you will change that scenarios based on your requirement, and ultimately you will make sure that these are read. So you try maybe 3-4 test cases, and if everything looks fine, then you will be getting confidence and you will be handing over to the technical guy. Right? So same thing you can do for the cost object as well as the CO document also. If you want to verify whether a particular CO document would work or not, you have to create that CO document in your source system. Maybe I'll try to show you. So I will create one CO document in my source system. We already seen how it is replicated, the CO document. But in this case, I just wanted to show you from the initial load point of view. So if I go to KB11N, controlling area CF01 in my source system. Okay, I'm trying to post the similar document. So this is my document and I want to go to this cost center. Okay, so this will create a CO document. Let's see what is the CO document number. So display CO document number is this one. I will just copy this and I will verify. I will do the smoke test whether this will be properly migrated or not. So CO document replication, my source document number is this, and my source controlling area is CF01. Let's try to execute. Unable to get, so same issue what we were discussing. See, cost object it is able to take, but so some of the objects it is not, Farooq, it is not right ki, there is no connection at the source at all. There is a connection at the source, but some objects it is not able to get it from there. Cost object it is getting, but CO document it is not getting. So something subset is missing, not the entire thing. Let's see.
And Vikram, why FICO documents smoke test is not there, but the cost object and
document, yeah, the reason is for FICO document, smoke test is not provided because smoke test is only provided for those objects which would be replicated via SLT. For FICO documents, we have the programs. In those programs, we will see whether the test run is possible or not.
okay.
Right. This particular program is only for the SLT related smoke test. So SLT related smoke test is only possible for CO documents. Okay, so it is saying the same thing, unable to get, okay, if I remove this, let's try. I think it will not allow at the first place because these fields are mandatory. Maximum is 999. I'm just trying some previously posted documents. No, it is not getting connected at the source at all. That is the issue. That is a issue due to which there are few programs which are not working in this system. So, but otherwise, I think you got the idea. If you want to perform the smoke test, you can come here and you can actually perform the test whether your documents will be replicated properly or not. So for cost object, you have seen you have to provide your logical system here. You will go to cost object mapping. Okay, here you will be providing your cost object number along with the cost object type. So whether it is internal order or it is a production order. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think system got disconnected. Okay. Let me go to SPRO once again. Became slow. Yeah. So I'll go to central finance again within target system in the initial load, and we were discussing about initial load preparation for management accounting. Within this, we discussed smoke test for cost object mapping. So if it is a cost object, I was just showing you that if it's a cost object, you can go for cost object mapping, your category here, and your object, whatever object you have in the source system. Before initial load has been started, you can check here whether it will be replicated properly or not. So this is the order, select the order and try to replicate it. So you can see currently everything is green because that cost object mapping has been done properly. If there is any issue in the cost object mapping, for example, you are trying to replicate the production order, but you are not provided the relevant information that production order in my source system will be replicated as what in my target system, whether it will be replicated as internal order or it would be replicated as the PCC, product cost collector. So accordingly, system will behave and it will tell you whether it is ready to be used or there are any issues.
So is it going to the source system to check, get some data? Something like
Exactly.
that is happening here. So
No,
this
it is just trying to post. It is going to the source system. See, I'm providing the source system here. Now this particular cost object is available in my source system. So it is going to the source system. It is trying to replicate this cost object, but it is doing in the test mode and it is telling us whether it is possible or not. Ultimately, when we actually want to perform this, it has to be done via LTRC.
right.
Okay. Next, you have simulations. Again, these simulations will be performed by technical. That is the reason you can see there are no programs provided here. How the simulations will be performed? Again, using the SLT tool. So in SLT also, before you actually start performing the initial load, you have a choice that you can perform the simulation load. Okay, where the system will not post anything, but it will give you the list of warnings or errors based on whatever data you want to perform the initial load for. Okay, so this would be totally taken care by LTRC. You can see here, this is all done in the LTRC server. And for the initial load, if you want to do the simulation, your technical team has to create the additional objects for the simulation run. So you can see, if you remember, I shown you the LTRC objects which are normally used by your technical team. Okay, so for all three tables, there are different objects. Okay, so if I go to LTRC and if I open my migration object within this processing steps, if you double click, see these are the different initial load and replication objects. So within the initial load objects, these are the load objects which are actually going to perform the initial load. If you want to do the simulation, then your technical team has to create another initial object for simulation purpose, and they will be executing that. You can see it is written here. So if you need to provide this information to your technical guy, you can ask him to read this. You can see there is a separate object which is simulation instead of the actual object which will actually perform the initial load. Okay, so other information also you can see it is provided in this SAP note. So if your technical guy is also not sure how to do this, you can ask him to refer to this SAP note. Okay, so you can do the simulation for, again, there are two programs. One is simulation for cost object. Second is simulation for management accounting document. So this is CO document and this is CO object. Okay, but ultimately you can see in this entire folder, we have just done the preparation. Okay, if you want to undo the preparation for CO initial load, you can come here and whatever activities you have done here, you can undo it. And you can do it once again based on the new data. So for example, you executed this today, system has extracted the data from the relevant parties, relevant tables, and later on you decided, oh, I don't want to do the initial load today. After 2 days, there are more documents posted in the source system, right? So what you will do is you will come here and you will say undo, all the data will be deleted. Again, you will perform this prepare and monitor initial load for CO postings. So system will bring the latest data. Right, so no program to actually perform the initial load. All the programs which are provided here are just for making it ready to start the initial load. Okay, once these activities are completed, LTRC team will go to transaction code LTRC. Okay, based on whatever object they created, they will perform the initial load. They will select this item. Okay, so in our case, let's say cost object mapping is AUFK. They will select it from here. They will go to data provisioning and they will say start the load. Okay, so you have to provide the table name, for example, AUFK. Okay, here they will provide the table name for whatever they want to perform the load. So AUFK and start the load. If you execute it, it is saying replication is already started because this table is already doing replication. That is the reason you are getting this error. But before you start the real-time replication, you normally do the initial load. So maybe for just for explanation purpose, again, I'll do the same thing. First, I will stop and remove this table from here. And then I will create the initial load once again. But again, these are all technical activities which you should not try in the system. Okay, so AUFK is gone. So just understand the consequence of this. Now, if AUFK is not here, nobody would be able to replicate any cost object data from the source to the target. So these activities are very critical. They need to be taken care very seriously. So start load, execute. So you can see AUFK table has been created. Okay, as of now, because it is doing the initial load, there is no logging table. Logging table is only required when you actually do the replication. Right, when you say currently it is just the loading, no replication. You can see loading is in progress, in process. So if there is any error, it will be shown here in the failed one. If there is no error, it will not show you anything. Let's see if there are any errors. Yeah, there are errors. It should normally show here. Normally it shows failed here. So these are the errors which your technical team has to handle so that the replication objects are able to perform the initial load. Okay, so they will be using these programs to perform that initial load, and once their activity is completed, then they will come to you and they will ask you to verify if all the relevant settings are migrated or not. So for that also SAP has provided the comparison reports. We will see that. Okay, so this is where they will come, they will run for cost object. Second is you will execute the accounting from the other folder, other programs. And finally, again, you will give back to the technical team and they will be doing the CO postings if they are separately required. If you ticked on that reconciliation indicator, then this may not be required for the initial load. Okay, let's go to the IMG now. So with this, we have completed the initial load preparation for management accounting. Now let's go to the financial accounting. Now in financial accounting, okay, this is technical, retention time and deletion for application log. So system always create the application log in the background and you can tell the system how much time the data should be available in the log tables. So this is technical, we can ignore. Within the initial load execution for financial accounting, there are two separate folders. One is for all company codes and second is for selected company codes. If you want to implement the central finance for all the company codes available in your source system, then only you will go with this all company codes option. If you are doing this only for selected company codes, for example, you have 3 company codes in your source system and you want to replicate or you want to do the initial load only for one company code out of it, then you will go to initial load execution for selected company codes. Otherwise, every transaction, everything is same. Okay, so I'll show you selected company codes. If you open this, how will you tell the system which company code you want to replicate or which company code you want to perform the initial load. So you have to create the initial load groups. This is nothing but group of companies. Which groups you want to, which company codes you want to include in the group. For that, you have to create a group. So in our case, I have already created group CF01. If you want, I can show you. So let's say I'm creating this group test, which is 4-digit code. And let's assume this is for CF01. Okay, although I already created the group for CF01, but I'm creating it again. So I will select this and I will go to the company codes. So from which logical system, which source company code I want to include. So from this logical system, I want to include company code CF01. You can see it is saying it is already added with another group. Okay, and that is the reason. Let's concentrate on that group itself, which is CF01. Okay, so you can see CF01 is assigned to a single company, which is CF01. So I'm telling the system that whenever I ask you to perform the initial load for client EPX client 800 and source company code CF01, I will give the instructions to perform the initial load for load group CF01. Okay, so once your initial load group has been created, you will start executing the initial loads using these programs. Single program actually, but there are multiple steps in this program. So execute the initial load for initial load group. You will go here, you can see there are multiple steps. First, you will do the extraction. Second, you will do the simulation. You were asking Farooq why there are no simulations. You can see there is a simulation here. Posting simulation also, and finally the posting. So first, system will extract the relevant data, what has to be migrated. It will perform the mappings and will tell you which mappings are missing. It will perform the postings and will tell you if there are any accounting related problems, if there are any posting related issues. And if you solve all those issues, then you can click on start the postings. Okay, so these are the 4 programs that you need to execute in sequence, and this is where you need to provide the initial load group. So if you want to do only for CF01, you will come here and you will select that particular initial load group, and you have to tell the system what exactly you want to do, whether you want to do the data extraction or you want to do the start mapping simulation or a posting simulation. So this has to be done in a sequence. Once you do this, there are the monitoring tools available here. Okay, so as I told you, this particular monitoring, see if you are doing the cost object initial load, if you are doing the CO document initial load, all the monitoring is being taken care in SLT tool. In SLT tool, we are able to see the error, right? That the initial load has not been completed because of XYZ reason. But when it comes to FI, initial load, FICO initial load, the monitoring will not happen from SLT. You have to do the monitoring here itself. So if you execute this program, you can tell the system, okay, I want to do the monitoring for a particular initial load group that I already executed. Okay, and it will tell you what exactly is the status of that. So you can see currently it is not possible because we are not executed the initial load. Let's try to execute the initial load. So I'll go for start data extraction and CF01. Obviously this will not work because system is not able to talk to the source system. If I execute this, okay, you can see some errors because system is not able to get the data properly from the source system. But once you get these errors, you can come here and you can see in the monitor what exactly is the situation currently. Okay, you can see it is red. How many documents are finished? 0 documents. How many error messages? As of now, 0. So it will give you the complete picture. If there are any error messages, you have to double click here itself and it will show you the list of errors which you need to solve using this program itself. You don't need to be relied on SLT for initial load of your FICO postings. All your FICO postings will be loaded using these programs which are not part of SLT. Farooq, you got your answers?
Yeah. What's the name of the program? Is it somewhere?
Yeah. You can see all these activities have the T codes. So T codes as well as programs. You can be able to see that very easily here.
Because some of the sample question I saw that they are asking about the program name and this and that. So that's why.
So what I'm doing is I'm creating a PPT. Maybe I'll show you the glimpse. I'm about to complete that. So whatever we have done, I'm taking the screenshots in this PPT, and this PPT I'll be sharing with you. It consists of each and every activity that we discussed along with complete details. So this one. Yeah. You can see this.
Yeah.
So each and every program, I will also try to include the transaction code as well as the program name so that it is very clear in your mind.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to send this PPT maybe in another 1 or 2 days. And this will be very handy if you are planning to write the certification exam. So even if you go through the PPT, I think most of you will be able to answer most of the questions. Okay. So once your initial load is completed, once you monitored it, whatever errors you found out, you solved it. Okay, there may be some errors where you need to create the SAP node. That is the reason you have to do these things initially in the sandbox. You will not directly start this project in your production environment, right? Production landscape also. So even the development quality, no, you're not going to touch that. We'll be doing this as a separate independent sandbox system project to verify what kind of issues you are getting. And believe me, there will be a lot of issues which even SAP will be getting for the first time from your side. This is very common. So Central Finance is not a very established product as of now. There are a lot of errors that are customer specific. For example, those errors which were not highlighted by a particular customer, it is very much possible that your company is using one of the component which is having some compliance issues with the Central Finance, and that is the reason you need to implement some SAP nodes. So that kind of issues would be very common. So it is always recommended to do all these same things in your sandbox, get the list of all those errors you are getting before you touch your production landscape. You have to make sure that all the errors which were expected, they are already resolved. You already got the solution from SAP, and then only you will proceed with your production landscape settings. Okay, so these are compare actual and expected CO postings in Central Finance. This is a program which is provided by SAP, which will compare whether the postings in ECC or in the source is matching with your postings in the Central Finance or not, mainly from the CO point of view, because FI postings you can directly go and you can run various reports. For example, you can run the balance sheet, you can run the financial statements, and you can compare whether my FI results are properly loaded or not. But when it comes to CO, because there is a choice, you can go with the reconciliation indicator or you can go with a CO postings replication. It is very important to verify whether those are properly migrated or not. So this is a compare program. And once you are done with
that one? Because can we execute that one? Because we already have sent some
no, but you know, it will not be able to show us anything because this is done by initially it has to be done by your technical consultant so that the CO postings are migrated. In our case,
it's only for the initial load. This is for the initial load only.
This is only for initial load, yes.
Okay.
Whatever activities we are doing, these are only for initial load.
Yeah.
See, currently it is showing blank because there are no postings. Once your postings are replicated, once your initial load activity is completed, then only you can execute this. Okay, and then these programs are normally, most probably they will be used in the sandbox. If you are using the production landscape, normally you will not do these activities again and again. So let's assume something gone wrong in the initial load. Okay, or maybe you want to repeat the initial load. You have done this activity, but you want to do it once again. So what you can do is you can delete the initial load data. Whatever data has been initially loaded, that will get deleted from the target system. Okay, same way, This will only delete the data from the target system. In the source system, the internal tables, the transfer tables and all, they will remain as it is. But if you want to remove the data also from the source system transfer tables, then you will be going with this option. Delete the initial data in the source system also.
So, Vikram, just a question here, deleting the data from the target system after load. So you mean financial postings will be deleted or reverse?
They will be reversed. If you see this,
Okay, it will be
is the
reversed.
purpose of delete the entries in the database tables which are inserted during the extraction, posting, as well as simulation of the initial load. So when you execute this program, it actually provides you the options. What you want to delete? You can say I only want to delete the extracted data, or I want to only delete the simulation postings, or I want to delete the entire posting data. So when you say entire posting data, this will definitely reverse those postings which are triggered from the initial load. Only initial load, not the real-time postings. Only initial load postings will be deleted. Okay, so this is only required if something gone wrong and you want to start from scratch, something like that. Maybe mostly in the sandbox system, you will be using this again and again so that you are 100% sure that everything is working fine now. Right? So if you see the last line in this one, this report will only delete the initial load in the central finance. Okay, for the complete reset of initial load, which means the source system transfer tables and all, you have to use another program, which is this one. Okay, this program will delete all the transfer tables also. You can see central finance transfer tables, logging tables, the data will be deleted, everything from the source system. The source data will remain same. The source posting will not be, there will not be any impact on the source posting. But based on those source postings, the log tables which are created, the transfer tables which are created, those data will be deleted. Okay, so that covers the initial load. What are the key takeaways? Initial load is the one-time activity that needs to be performed before you start the real-time replication. It is 100% recommended from SAP that you should normally start the replication only when your initial load activity has been completely performed. Now in initial load, again, there are three main, okay, I'm not saying these are the only replication objects, three main replication objects. One is FICO document, second is CO object, and third is CO documents. We need to remember one thing, CO object mapping and CO document related initial loads will be taken care by SLT. Okay, SLT is a tool which will be taking care of the initial loads of CO documents and CO object mappings. While for FI, there is a separate program which is provided in IMG itself. Okay, that has to be executed. In FI, there are two ways to execute the initial load. One is you can do for all company codes altogether. Second is you can do for a particular selected company codes. Okay, and if something goes wrong, there is a correction, there is a compare report also, which will provide you at any point of time what is the status, whether all the things are properly migrated or not. And then if something goes wrong, there is a deletion option also where you can go and delete the initial load. Okay, any questions on initial load before I just take another 10-15 minutes to explain some new features which were provided by SAP recently and which can be utilized going forward in your projects.
So, is there any customization or any enhancement you see it as related to the initial load? So for your center finance?
Initial load normally not, but there can be customizations, there can be enhancements required in real-time replication, and that is the reason you can see these are the different bodies which are provided by SAP which can be utilized. For example, you can see this. This is a body which is provided by SAP for initial load of commitments. So if you feel that there is some customizing, there has to be some coding that you want to include, some behavior you want to change of the standard system, you can make the use of these bodies. Right, Farooq? This was your question, right?
But any specific example when you say enhance the mapping or rules, what kind of an enhancement we would expect that? Any kind of a customization?
No, it can be anything. For example, it can be some non-standard field that you want to replicate. So there is a field in the source system,
Oh,
which is the field, and you want to include that in the target system. But
maybe custom field or something.
yeah, but it is strongly recommended that in phase one, maybe going forward, you can keep on upgrading your system to your requirements, but it is strongly recommended that this is a very critical project and we should try to, because it is already very complex, very complicated project, and we should try to keep it simple as possible. So initial first phase should be as it is, initial load and replication without adding any new logics. But going forward, yes, once it is your product, once it is started being used, then you can keep on upgrading or updating it.
I think it's more complicated on the technical side. Functionality wise, it's pretty
It is very
straightforward.
straightforward. Yes, technically it is too complicated because you will not believe the SAP notes. Even on day-to-day basis, you'll be getting different SAP notes. And I told you the reason. The reason is this is a developing product. There are a lot of new things which are coming up with every service pack. And obviously, if a new service packs come, it definitely provides you benefits, but sometimes it also create a problem with the existing processes. So for that, if you create an incident with SAP, SAP will give you another SAP note. So that is a continuous activity that is being done in the central finance. Many SAP notes, if you go to the SAP's note browser, there also you will find that there are a lot of SAP notes related to central finance. So which one are relevant, which one are not relevant, that is very big task for the technical guys to work on that. See, even I'm 100% sure, even there would be something available on this also, what issues we are getting. But the thing is, being the new product, even the technical consultants are also not 100% sure what exactly to be done. If this is my client system, I can definitely register the request with SAP and they have to provide the solution. But on the TAFE system, whom should I contact? Nobody is going to help you out, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So now what I'll do is, last few things, we already discussed central payment in detail, but there are one or two new things which are introduced by SAP and these are optional. So from day one, we are discussing three objects which are very important in central finance. That is, we can replicate the cost objects, we can replicate the CO postings, and we can replicate the FICO postings. Now, in addition to it, with every new version, SAP is providing some new migration objects which can also be replicated along with these three objects. So I already gave you the example of commitments. So if you are creating a PR and PO in your source system, and if you want to replicate that as a commitment in the internal orders in the target system, that is also something which is recently launched by SAP. Same way, if you are using old functionalities like classic profit center accounting, so if you are using a new profit center accounting, if you are using new GL in your source system, then this activity is not relevant at all. But let's assume if you are using the classic profit center accounting, in that case, if you want to replicate the classic profit center accounting postings to the target system, then you have to make the settings. Okay, so there are some settings that you need to maintain in your source system. There are some settings for the company code. There is a simulation tool, and you can do the execution of initial load. Okay, so these are the activities which are only relevant if you are using ECPCA in your source system. If you are already using new GL accounting, then this activity is not required. If you are already using new profit center accounting, which is part of FI, right? So what exactly this activity has to do, if you just read this, see, if you want to transfer ECPCA, which is classic profit center accounting, from your source to target, you must first make the settings in both the systems. Okay, note that EC post CA's postings becomes an FI posting. See, in SAP S4HANA, we are not going to replicate ECPCA as ECPCA in S4HANA. Even though the data is coming from the classic profit center accounting in ECC, it would be replicated as the universal journal posting in S4HANA. So in S4HANA, we are not going to implement a ECPCA, rather we are getting the data as ECPCA, but ultimately that data is getting posted in S4HANA as a actual universal journal posting. Okay, so how do you need to do this? Let's try to understand what are the settings required in the source system. Just you need to tell the system that whenever the documents will come from my source system, which ledger would pick those documents in the target system. Can you tell me which ledger is used in ECPCA? Normally, if you are using this classic profit center accounting, there are old special purpose ledgers used for the profit center accounting. But as I told you, in S4HANA, that information will not come as a old ledger, but it will be posted to the universal journal ledger with ledger group, whatever you provide here. Normally, it should be 0L only, the leading ledger. Okay. All other, I think there are no other configurations. You just need to specify for which company code you want to activate the profit center accounting. This is the default profit center. Okay. And this is the default GL account. So the debit credit entry, whatever would be posted, it will be posted to this GL account. Okay. This is very uncommon. As of now, I'm not sure if any customer has implemented this. So you define the following attributes. If the replicated does not balance to 0, an additional line item has been, so this is 0 balance clearing account for GL account. Because in classic profit center accounting, it has nothing to do with the FI postings. It only takes the data related to profit centers and it makes the posting. So if the posting is not matching to 0, in SAP S4HANA, it will create a huge problem. And that is the reason, just to make sure that the balance is always 0. You know, in ECC also, if new GL accounting is active, we use the 0 balance accounting, 0 balance clearing account. So same type of account we have to activate here. Okay, if you want to do the simulation and you want to do the initial load, you can use these features. And if you decided that, okay, I don't want to continue using PCA going forward, you can delete all the data which is related to classic profit center accounting. Okay, this is comparatively very much new. Even I don't think anyone has explored and what issues it got. So if you want to migrate the cost estimates, okay, so you know the cost estimate, standard cost, if you are using, if you already evaluated a material and you want to transfer those costs, if you want to mainly into the manufacturing companies where you need to, you have the standard cost estimate available for a particular material and you want to evaluate that material at the standard cost, and if you want to transfer that cost to the target system, but this will only work when you are also migrating the material postings. Okay, so which is currently, I will say, very, very, very rare when the customer is migrating the material also in the target system. Okay, so if you are doing that, then only this is relevant. Define the rule for cost estimate replication. So here your logical system, reference object, so which costing variant would be used from which. So it is just a mapping. Obviously, if you are using this, you have to activate the standard cost in the target system also. Then only you will map your costing variant in your source system to the costing variant in the target system. Okay, so this is related to the standard cost estimates if you want to use. In addition to this, although it is not shown here, maybe it is shown somewhere related to COPA. Yeah, here, COPA mappings. So I'm not sure how many of you know already how COPA works in S4HANA. If you already gone through my FI training, you must be knowing already. In COPA, in ECC, there were two types of COPA, costing based, account based. In S4HANA also, We are not saying that there is only one. There are both the options are available, costing as well as account based. But account based COPA has been simplified a lot, and it is a recommended way to go. SAP is recommending to all the customers, go for account based COPA. Costing based COPA is optional, untouched. The way it was working in ECC, same way it will continue to work in S4HANA, right? So if you want to replicate the COPA related postings, if you, let's assume you have activated COPA in ECC also in your source system, and you have activated COPA in your target system also. So what you need to understand here is, in terms of COPA, there are two things. Number one, in ECC, which COPA you are using, and in S4HANA, which COPA you are using. So if you are using costing based in ECC and costing based in S4HANA, this is very simpler approach, right? So what you need to do is, you need to map your characteristics from ECC to the characteristics in S4HANA. You need to map, let me show you. So if I go to COPA mapping, you can see define COPA mapping. Okay, first of all, you have to select your operating concern. So let's assume I'm using operating concern 1000. Okay, operating concern in the source system. So this is my operating concern in the target system. I will assign the operating concern in the source system. Okay, so whatever, let's say from logical system EPX client 800, and here I will assign the operating concern from the source. Okay, obviously if it is available, then only it will pick the values. And then in costing based COPA, we have characteristics and we have value fields. So the characteristics in my source operating concern will be assigned to characteristics in my target operating concern. So it is just kind of mapping relation that I need to provide. So if it is costing based COPA to costing based COPA, it is very straightforward. What you need to do is, I'll just enter the remarks, map characteristics and value fields, both you have to do. Okay, because costing based COPA is available as it is. How the way you are using in ECC, you can continue to use same in S4HANA. But let's assume customer who is using costing based COPA here, he is implementing account based COPA here, because it is recommended approach in S4HANA to get the more profitability reports which are provided by SAP. So if this is the case, value fields are not available in account based COPA. Can you tell me why value fields are not available in account based COPA?
Because it's account based, it's a GL account based. It's not relying on the value and then characteristics.
Exactly. Account based COPA doesn't use value fields because the values will come from the accounts directly. And that is the reason in account based COPA, although I can map the characteristics, okay, I can map the characteristics, but value fields needs to map to, because I don't have the value fields here. So I need to map it to what is the corresponding
GL
in
account.
GL accounts, right? So I need to map my value fields to GL accounts. That is the only thing. That is the reason SAP has provided two nodes under this mapping. You can see one is, I'm not saving this. Yes. It is not allowing me to go out. Let's try once, otherwise I need to do /n. Okay, so there are two programs which are there are two nodes which are provided by SAP for COPA mapping, which is, one is related to costing based and second is related to account based. So you can see first one is related to costing based, where you can do the COPA mapping, you can map your characteristics and value fields, 2 characteristics and value fields in the target system. But you can see second one is assign the GL accounts to condition types. Condition types are nothing but value fields, because normally value fields gets the values from the condition types in costing based COPA. So here we are directly assigning the GL accounts to the condition types. So if my company code is this, and for this particular condition type, this is my GL account. Okay, if my company code is this, condition type is this, then this is going to be my GL account. Okay, why there is an offsetting account? Because normally some of the conditions are statistical. What do you mean by statistical conditions? Just for the information purpose. They are not going to post anything. But if I'm using GL account here, definitely I want to post without post.
Are you still there?
Hello.
Okay, now I can hear you. I thought I don't know that was only me or everyone
sorry,
else
there
has
was
the
some
same issue.
disturbance in between.
So last time I
No,
heard
it
that,
was from my side. So I think everybody was facing the same.
okay. So last thing we heard that is we were telling about
I'm coming.
offsetting.
Right, exactly. So I was telling you that some of the conditions, in SD, there are some conditions which are statistical. Statistical means just for the information purpose, they are not going to post anything, right? So if you want to map the statistical conditions also to the GL account so that you are able to see that report in account-based COPA, definitely it means, just give me a minute. Yeah, definitely it means it will create a GL account document. But if it is creating a GL account document, then definitely I need the offsetting entry. Okay, so only for statistical conditions, I need to provide the offsetting account here. For non-statistical, which means who are actually going to post using the sales order, just the GL account is enough. Whatever GL account. For example, if you have a condition for freight, if you have a condition for discount, so definitely those conditions needs to be assigned to discount GL account, the freight GL account and all. But if there is any condition which is just for the information purpose, you will provide some GL account and you will provide the offsetting account also, so that they are getting nullified. They are not posting anything to accounts. Clear, Farooq, or others also? Offsetting account?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think with this, we covered almost whatever was planned in our central finance course. We understood the real-time replication. We understood the initial load also. We understood what are the settings required in the source system, what should be the source system, what are the prerequisites, which system can become my source system, which system can become my target system. So in the source system, ECC systems above 6.0 are the best possible systems that can be used as a central finance. But if there are any out of maintenance, for example 4.6, 5.0, anything lesser than 6.0, there are a lot of SAP nodes which are required to be implemented on those source systems to make them ready. And if there are any external systems which are non-SAP systems, or even SAP systems which are non-ERP, for example by design, B1, those all needs to be considered as a third-party systems, and for which you need to involve your technical team to create the interfaces. They have to create those logging tables similar to the system we have seen. The logging tables, the transfer tables needs to be created in the source systems, and LTRC will also has to be set up to get the data from those external systems. Okay, in terms of SLT, we understood SLT can be implemented independently as a third server, or it can be used on top of ECC as a source system, and it can be also used as a on the top of the target system. In our case, whatever we have seen that ECC is having the SLT server in the same system. So ECC and SLT were using the same system, and our target system was different. Right? So any questions related to anything, maybe you can utilize this another 2-3 days of time. As I told you, we will meet on Friday. I recommend all of you to go through this PPT, which I'm going to send you today or tomorrow. Plus, try to carry out all the scenarios, whatever we execute in the system. If you are getting any issues, you can send me the mail. You already have my mail ID. I will try to resolve it, and I will try to provide you the solution over mail. And if required, we will be having the discussion also on that on Friday. Okay, anyone, any questions, any feedback?
Vikram, have you worked on a third-party non-SAP system tool SAP is recommending called Magnitude? Magnitude is kind of a plug-in. They have a solution for non-SAP systems. So you connect the Magnitude with SLT, and then Magnitude connect with all the non-SAP systems to expedite the non-SAP implementation. Have you worked any kind of a non-SAP system for connecting it?
No, to be frank, I heard about it, but we never see what is happening is most of the companies in phase one, they are going for the SAP systems to be used as a central finance. And then once that is stable, they are thinking of bringing the another non-SAP external systems to S4HANA as a central finance scenario. So although I heard about Magnitude, but I never got a chance to work on that interface. But anyways, even if it is again, Farooq, even if you get a chance to work on it, you don't have anything to do on that part because it's completely taken care of.
The only thing we need to work on is to streamline their process, understand their account structure and whatever is that in order to map it on our side.
Yes. So only thing that we need to understand is mapping.
Yep.
And most of the time, I see every consultant is different. The work style of every consultant is different, but I strongly recommend don't try to get too much into their source systems, because otherwise you will land up doing everything on your own. They will tell you this is our system, you take the mappings, you do the mappings. So that is something which you should completely avoid. What you should do is you should provide them the templates. This is the template in which I want the information. I don't want to understand, or maybe you cannot directly say I don't want to understand, but try to push it to them that it is their responsibility to provide the data and the templates, and you will just maintain those mappings, rather than you will go and understand their scenarios and you will try to map it on your own. So ultimately what will happen is, instead of consulting, you will be actually getting involved in their day-to-day kind of you can say garbage work. Okay, so I have seen some consultants doing that job, but to be frank, as a consultant, we should not go into that area. We should be very professional that this is a template. Whatever are your source systems, you need to provide the data in this template. We will upload it for you.
Yeah, that's true.
See, otherwise what happens is, even one of the project we are currently also working, there are some consultants who are on day-to-day basis just sitting with them and they are filling the files for them. So that is not something which we as a consultant, we should work on improvising how the things can be done faster from the technical point of view, rather than sitting with the business and filling the Excel sheets on behalf of them.
That's right.
So ultimately, any system, SAP, non-SAP, external, we should have a template ready. We should give this template to the technical team as well as to the end users who are supposed to fill the data. So technical team would be responsible to set up those logging tables, those transfer tables, which will make sure that we are able to get the data from the source system, and business users will use that Excel sheet to fill the data as per. Definitely we need to provide them some kind of training because the terminologies may be different. So when we're asking them provide the cost center mapping, they might not be using cost center in their source system. There may be some other terminology that they are using. So that terminology understanding is very important, but ultimately it should be their responsibility to fill those templates.
Agree.
Okay then, so we will close today. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, we will meet directly on Friday with Q&A. Okay, in order to utilize that session, I will recommend all of you to don't directly ask the question in the session itself. You can, if you have any question in your mind while practicing, just mail me so that I am also ready with the answer.
And Vikram, are we talking the question answer certification thingy in the last session as well?
Yes. So as you said, currently certification. So maybe I will take this point because I may not be able to recollect at that point that I need to talk about certification. So whatever this kind of questions are coming to your mind, just send me the mail so that I'll be prepared with that content, that this is what we need to discuss in that session.
Okay, sure.
Okay, and as I told you, even I'll be sending you one link through which you can be able to write the questions which are exactly same as what is normally asked in the certification exams. So once you are prepared, I will be giving you the access for maybe next 1 or 2 weeks. Whenever you are prepared, try to appear in that particular exam. Okay, don't rush because you want to make sure that you have understood each and everything and then you are writing the exam.
Sure, thank you.
Okay then, thank you all. See you on Friday. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you.